there's kind of like steps to it. So we want to talk about the mind and how the mind is um, basically our vehicle to free us from suffering. Okay, because the noble truths talk about suffering and how our experience here as humans is basically some type of suffering, right? We can all relate to that because we have the fight or flight um, kind of genetically ingrained in us, and we kind of live in victimhood, and we lived in the blame game, and we live in survival mode, and that's usually how we're all programmed in our human experience. And so meditation helps us to shift that, where we're not connecting with people through our traumas, right? Because everybody has a story, everybody has a past, everybody has something, and that's usually how we relate to people, right? We relate to things that we have in common, and most of the time it's the things that we suffer through, right? That's how we relate to people. And a lot of times we think of the mind as something tangible, right? We think of it as like a container. It's something solid, like it's an object. We always say, okay, I'll keep that in mind, or my mind is full of thoughts, or I can't shut my mind off, right? As if it's a thing. But there's no surgeon on this planet, right, that can extract the mind from the body and hold it in their hand. And that's because the mind is formless. It's basically a dynamic process of experiences. And those experiences are continuously arising, right? They come over, we keep experiencing the same things over and over, right? We keep having the same lessons, the same people, same experiences, things like that, right? Unless we shift our focus, until we shift our perception. And so those people that believe in reincarnation, they say that we're here as humans to experience various sufferings of a samsaric existence, which basically samsara is the death and rebirth cycle. So as we come into this life, we've transcended from a previous life, and now during this lifetime, we're journeying through this life, and then when this lifetime ends, we are reborn into a brand new existence and a brand new person. So what happens is this life is a combination of our past life experience are brought into this experience subconsciously, and then what we're creating in this life will be brought into our future life. And it's the same thing, just think about just in this life alone, right? Who we were as our children and young adults is not who we are now. And it's not who we're going to be when we're older, right? But this present moment, and what meditation shows us is that this present moment is where we can make a shift from the past to the future, where we're not focusing on the past or the future. We're making a choice in this present moment to experience something different. We've already have our past experiences kind of filed in our brain, and we're always operating off of those past experiences, and we're constantly bringing those past experiences into the present moment, and we don't have to do that. So when we're meditating, we get to have that observational approach to say, how can I do this differently? How can I experience something with brand new eyes, with making it a brand new experience and not filter through the lenses of our past? And that's how we kind of end those cycles of suffering. So as we become aware of the nature and the potential of our mind, that's when we begin to understand that profound change is possible. And it's essential to be aware of our actions and understand what the consequences are. Our actions always have some kind of effect. And this is what they call a karmic cycle. When I always knew it as I was always very aware of karma growing up. And a lot of times I didn't act because I always felt like, well, karma will always follow that person. And I always felt that karma was always what your intention was. So if your intentions were good, good was going to come back. If your intention was bad, bad was going to come back. And I often was able to see what was happening to other people and not step into their karma and make it part of mine or make myself part of theirs. I was very picky and choosy on that because I was aware of it. And basically the karmic cycle is basically karma is action. That's what it means. Karma means action. And when you take an action, it creates a memory. And then that memory creates a desire. And that desire leads to another action. And that's what they call a karmic cycle, or what I learned now in meditation, it's called the software of the soul. So that cycle of action, memory, desire becomes a file, and all those get filed in our brain, right, as experiences. And that's basically what our mind is. It's a file of all our experiences, right? And we're consistently experiencing new things. So our experiences are driven by our karma, which is the law of cause and effect. And our mind is a result of all our past actions and the effects that arose because of those actions. So our actions really dictate whether we're going to experience suffering or happiness, right? And we're trying to get to, at least for me, my purpose of meditation is for me to start experiencing a life of joy instead of a life of suffering. And so meditation is what has guided me to make that shift from suffering into joy, and for me to follow the path of joy, which is not what we're taught. So meditation basically helps us to modify our behavior by understanding that certain actions create certain results, right? There's consequences. And so once we begin to develop an understanding of the nature of our mind and how our mind works, then we're able to make a more informed decision. So it's basically your mindset. Do you have a negative mindset or a positive mindset? And most of us have a negative mindset, right? We're blame, shame, guilt. We're constantly criticizing and judging ourselves. We lie to ourselves every day. We do all these things, right? So a person that looks to others with compassion, love, and care, that generally live with that mindset of that little TLC, they bring that into their experience, they create more happiness for themselves and for those that they're involved with, as opposed to those people that judge and criticize and blame and shame, whatever, they cause suffering for those people as well as themselves, right? Because what you give out is what you're going to receive. So there is a very priceless and very precious thing when it comes to a positive state of mind. And it's our responsibility to cultivate it and to maintain it. And there's very few sources of assistance from the outside, because everything on the outside, from social media to the news to society to friends and family, everything for the most part is negative, right? Everything that comes into our experience is always some form of bad news. And so we're constantly exposed to that overwhelming amount of negative information, and we have to learn how to be discriminating and as to what information our mind receives, and also to minimize the harmful effects. So for example, being more conscious, like last year, 2020, for my kids, I didn't want my kids to fear the pandemic, right? I wanted them to be aware of it, and I wanted them to take the necessary precautions to keep themselves safe, but I didn't want them to be afraid of it. And I was never afraid of it, and I never presented it as something fearful for them. Of course, they were influenced by other people at school and other family members, and my mom constantly had the news on and stuff like that. But it was me teaching them how to filter that out so that they weren't carrying the fear here in their chest, and they still went about what they needed to do. And when that fear did come up, how to manage that. And that's what we have to do for ourselves as well, right? So when you're cultivating a positive mindset, there's two things you need. Number one is awareness, which we all have, otherwise we wouldn't be here right now, right? And the second thing is having the willingness and the motivation to have that observational approach where you're investigating, you're analyzing, and you're identifying in your experience what's positive and negative, what's constructive, what's destructive, right? And how those things influence our state of mind. And it's not an easy process. It takes a great deal of effort, and it takes diligency, and it takes consistency. So they say that a positive thought and a negative thought cannot be in your mind at the same time. So you have to consciously cultivate positive thoughts to outnumber your negative thoughts. So this is how you know whether or not you have a positive mindset. At the end of the experience, if you're in the pit of despair, or if you come out on the upside and you learn the lesson, or you have a broader perspective of it. That's how you know what side of the spectrum you're in. So no matter how much you try to have a positive mindset, if the end result, you still have a negative point of view, you don't have a positive mindset. You still have a negative mindset. And so you have to continuously work on counteracting your own hatred, your own anger, your own ignorance, and your own negative state of mind. It takes a lot of effort to kind of decondition yourself and then recondition yourself into that. And as you get to that positive, that's when you start living a life of gratitude, where you start counting your blessings, where you start saying, okay, things are working out for me. And you see the positive aspects of that. And so I always say, like, and for me, we're all gonna falter. It depends on the experience, right? But at the end of the day, at the end of the experience, if you're still like, no, I still have a shitty life. No, I still whatever. No, nothing ever works out for me. You're still in that negative mindset. You still haven't gotten there. So that's something you really have to continue to work out. So they say that if you take the negative thought, when you experience the negative thought, you try to say, okay, what's the opposite of that? You're experiencing the contrast, right? We all know what the contrast is because we've lived in a dual state of existence, right? So it's okay, what's the contrast? And then bringing the two together and say, okay, both aspects are true, but where do I want to live? And that's your choice. And that's what meditation brings you to, that the present moment you have the choice. You have a choice. And what's your choice going to be? Both aspects are true. The negative and the positive are both true. How do you bring them both together so that you're living at least in peace and know that the story you believe within yourself is what is cultivating that positive mindset? So the story that you ultimately believe inside you, deep, deep, deep down inside, is what will tell you whether or not you're negative or positive. And so that's where you're getting to, deep inside of you, trying to make that core of you positive. And that's really hard to get to. Takes a lot of digging, but it's possible because I'm living proof of that. So meditation basically is just helping you familiarize yourself with your mind, your thought process, and it helps you to contemplate some of the teachings that we're going to go over and how it relates to your life. And like I said, there's no right or wrong here. It's just, how does it fit in your life and how do you relate to it? And how can you cultivate yourself into that positive mindset? Everybody's different. So there's no right or wrong here. Everybody's experience is different. And how you relate to the information is going to be different for everybody. So it's basically just having that ability to transform the intellectual concept of it and really make those life-changing realizations for yourself, where you can make that shift. And that all comes from you, because you can read 100 self-help books and still be sitting there in the same spot. So it's until you start taking those actions where you have the results is what's going to make the changes. And those actions come with the choices you make. And not making an action and not making a choice is still a choice. And those are the choices that keep you stuck. Those are the choices that keep you stagnant, not making moves. So once you start making those moves, and it's trial and error, right? None of us have experienced the positive side of it, right? So we're all learning here together. So that's what we're here for, to kind of hold each other's hand through it. It's all just an experience. So you guys ready for meditation? All right. I cannot sit in meditative state, so I'm going to sit just normal. And all right. So today we're going to connect to the divine white light. And we're going to do a meditation on that, because I just need to fully cleanse myself. So sit in a comfortable position. Let's just take a couple of deep breaths to settle into our body. Nice deep breath. Let your shoulders drop. Release the day. Release the thoughts. Release whatever experience went on today. And just release any tension in your head, neck, shoulders, back. Just take a couple of more deep breaths to settle in our body, feeling more relaxed, more calm. Now allow your breathing to just be normal, effortlessly, in and out. Just in and out with ease. Let's try to block out some of this background noise here. It's people having fun. We're going to imagine a bright light shining down onto the crown of our head. And we're going to imagine ourselves as an open vessel, like an empty bottle. And this white light is coming down, filling us up, starting at our head, coming down to our neck, coming over our shoulders, down our arms to our fingertips, coming down our chest and our back, down into our hips, and down our legs, down our calves, our ankles, down to our feet. And our whole body is now filled with this divine white light. Imagine that it's touching every single cell, allowing it to rejuvenate, recalibrate, regenerate, just re-energizing it, fresh and new. Now imagine roots coming out of your feet like a tree, going down into the floor, down into the earth, through all the rocks and dirt and sediment, all the way to the center of the earth, where you imagine there's a ball of fire. And this light now, that is that red, orange, yellowish color, is coming now, shooting up through those roots to your feet. And now it's coming up into your legs, to your knees, to your hips, through your stomach, your chest and back, up to your shoulders, down your arms to your hands, all the way to your fingertips, up your neck, and then filling your entire head and connecting with the divine light above you. And you are now connected with heaven and earth as a vessel through which our human experience also brings in our divine essence. And we're letting Mother Earth again fill our body with rejuvenating energy, revitalizing us, recalibrating us, regenerating us, re-energizing us. So we're fully activated. And just feel that energy flowing through you. And we're just going to allow both these energies to circulate through our system as we recite in our minds the mantra I am, Aham. So as you breathe in, say Ah. As you breathe out, think hum. And just say it in your mind. Aham. Connecting the mantra to your breath as though you're listening to it instead of saying it. And just focus on the mantra, allowing your body to just continue to relax and be fully present. Any thoughts, feelings, or sensations that come up, just observe it and let it go. If you spiral into any thoughts, just gently bring yourself back to the mantra. And we'll do this for a couple of minutes in silence. And as you continue to breathe, saying the mantra, feel the breath in your heart center. And breathe that Aham mantra into your chest. And allowing your body and your mind to connect into who you are, the true essence of your being. Now imagine that white light in the center of your chest. Imagine it as a sphere, a ball of white light, and it's growing bigger and bigger until it encapsulates your entire body. And imagine this white light cleansing your aura, your energy field, as a form of protection. So the radiance of who you are is projected outward, and you have the ability to filter what enters your energy field. You have this force field up surrounding you, and this is your filter system. This is your form of protection to protect your energy, your body, and your state of mind. Bring your hands to the center of your chest, resting your thumbs against your heart. And continue to breathe into your heart center, saying the mantra. Feel the energy in your hands as they're connected, the energy flowing from one hand to the other. We're going to let the mantra go and just set our intentions. As I say these, repeat them in your mind, feel them in your heart. I have an energetic, joyful body. I have an energetic, joyful, healthy body. I have a reflective, alert mind. I have a compassionate, open heart. My speech is a positive influence for myself and those around me. I feel light in my being. Take a nice long deep breath, bringing yourself back to the present moment. And then bow in gratitude to yourself and to everyone present for sharing this experience. Namaste. How you doing, Mark?